And this is a heavy lift because we've got all the pipe, all the rods and all the water and the heavy cylinder. So we're going to keep lifting this up now until we get to the first coupling point. Then we can open that. We can't take the pipe off because the rod is in the pipe. We need to lift the pipe up. We will disconnect the rod. We can then take the rod and the pipe off. So we need to coordinate on our lifting again. So if we can have the people with the lifting spanners, I will, I think if you just go around slightly to the side, because I want to be here, that's fine, yep. Right, so what you're going to do in a moment, when you're ready, say 1, 2, 3, lift, and I will slightly open this. It's not necessary because it's self-opening, but I'm trying to stop it scratching, galvanizing on this pipe. So I will then close it and tell you that it's closed, and then you can release the pressure. So try and lift with your knees, not bending your back. You don't need to hold that now because it's bolted down, okay?
1, 2, 3, lift.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, lift.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, lift.
Okay, and we just need to keep an eye here on where the collar is. It's not in sight yet, to make sure it doesn't get stuck in the middle.
1, 2, 3, lift. 1, 2, 3, lift.
Right, okay, so we're just all right there. The collar is just below here. What we need to do this time is lift it so the collar comes through here, which means I have to fully open my clamp, and there's a danger of dropping the pipe. And we need to lift the collar above here. If we can lift it far enough so we can get 2 spanners below it for next time, that's good. But if not, we'll stop with just above it, and then we'll do a second lift. You may need to let it down a little bit just to start off with, but after you've...
1, 2, 3, lift.
Okay, that's fine. I think we have enough space there for fitting on 2 spanners. So this top section of pipe is slightly shorter than the normal length of pipe. It's usually about 3 meters pipe, because this comes manufactured in 6 meter lengths. So now what we need to do is open this joint up, and there's a possibility of water spraying out at this point. So I'll just get a piece of polythene. So I have one spanner which I can have permanently the right size for the collar. I have another one which is already set for the pipe size. So what I'm now going to do, I'm just going to open up my joint. We can just have that polythene. Just going to put the polythene round here just to stop the spray, if you could hold that. Okay, thank you. That can come off. So we've now opened our first joint, and again you can see the way that the galvanizing here has actually deteriorated. It's already becoming rusty at this point, but I can't take my pipe off because I have a rod inside my pipe. So what I need to do, I need a couple of people to hold the pipe up, then I will undo the pipe connection. So Ruth, if you'd like to come in, maybe Shirley, if you can help hold the pipe round there. So if you can hold that there. So the first thing I need to do is release this lock nut here. There's a lock nut on top, so if you can give me that. So I'm just going to release that lock nut. That's locking tension into the joint. I'm then going to unscrew the rod. If you can hold it across a bit, just to, thank you. Okay, I've got it now. So now we can lay our pipe down. Ideally we need to find somewhere that's hygienic. Although ideally you want to chlorinate your borehole after you've done any maintenance on it. So here you can see one of the larger diameter rods that I've used to give extra weight to make sure that any friction on the piston is overcome when we lift the handle up. This design isn't the standard design of India Mark II rod connector, but it's similar. This one actually has some plastic centralizers on it, which you can see are slightly worn on the edges. They're doing their purpose. They're stopping the rod connector rubbing on the inside of the rising main, which would take off the galvanizing not only on the connector but also on the rising main and lead to a corrosion pit, which then lead to a hole in the pipe. So we've taken off our first section of pipe, our first section of rod. Now what we need to do is lift again until we get to the next joint. But we're not going to repeat that because I think you can understand the process is just very similar to what we have done. So for 45 meters you'd need that lift 15 times, which would be quite tiring. Then you'll get through to your cylinder. So the last section of pipe will be screwed onto the top here. Once we pull this out of the borehole, we can get down to the business of opening the cylinder up and looking at the parts in it and doing the maintenance on them. So this is the piston here. The sections are screwed together. I can't unscrew them by hand. There's quite a lot of parts to this piston. 1, 2, 3, 4 brass parts, then 1, 2, 3 rubber parts. This one has 2 seals. Most deep well hand pumps only have 1 seal, but the design of this chose to use 2 seals. The seal on this one is neoprene rubber, sometimes they're leather. They're slightly flexible so that as we're lifting it up the cylinder, the water pressure opens it out against the inside lining of the cylinder. This valve at the top, as we're lifting up, will be closed and has a rubber seal on the bottom of it to make a watertight joint. At the bottom of the cylinder we have the foot valve, which is another maintenance point. So when the piston is coming up, we are reducing the pressure below the piston because the volume is increasing, so the foot valve will open and water will come in from the borehole. When the rod has reached the top of its movement, it will stop moving, and then this bottom valve, the foot valve, will close. Now the rod starts coming down. As it comes down, this valve will open and the water between here, which is now being compressed, will come through this top valve into the delivery pipe. What we would need to do after lifting the first section of pipe and rod off is lift the next section, find the joint, open that, disconnect the pipe, take the rod and the pipe off all the way down to the cylinder. We can then maintain the cylinder, reconnect it to the bottom pipe, and then we start reinstalling them one by one carefully. And the lift is getting heavier and heavier, so when you're tiredest right at the end, again you have a heavy lift because you've got all the pipes and the rods. Although if you don't move the piston rod, they're not all full of water. So we're going to pretend that we've done that, and we've come now to putting on our last section of pipe. As I said, what we need to do is make sure the joint is sealed with thread sealant. What I'm going to do, I'm going to seal this. Here I'm using PTFE tape, Teflon tape, for sealing the thread, and you can see that this is tapered. This thread here, as I said, was tapered. This bottom bit's not really of much use, but I'll leave it on for now. So you need to roll it on in the same direction as you would be screwing the coupling onto the pipe. So I'm rolling this round a few times, maybe 3 times or so, just to try and fill the gap between these two threads so that I don't have a leak in this joint. So now I've done that, what I can do, I can lift this up. If Ruth, you can bring the spanner. You lift this up. You can put the spanner on the bottom there. You move a bit to the side here, around here. Thank you. So what I'm doing first is going to screw. Can you hold it up a touch more? Could you move to the side a bit? I'm screwing the rod in, so the rod first pushes against the other end of the rod. Once I've done that, I can then tighten my lock nut and tighten the lock nut against the coupling. So that should now be a firm joint. So then I can release my spanner, we can lower this down, and we can start screwing it in. Right, so now what we're going to do is put these, sorry, I put that on the wrong way. Put these spanners on, and we're just going to tighten the joint. Okay, that's it. You can take the spanner off. So hopefully that joint will be watertight. What we now need to do is use our lifting spanners again for lowering the pipe